Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Since we got our trailer just a few months ago, we've been loving it, but our hitching experience has been somewhat suboptimal, I would say.
Yeah, and it's not really like the hitching and hooking up part that's been suboptimal, it's the driving part that's been suboptimal.
Well, there's a couple things. One is we've got a lot of extra sag. We've got a Ram 2500. We're going to address that in a different video.
Yeah.
We need to find the perfect solution. I think we found it, we just need to get it. And we actually knew this would be an issue from the very beginning. Here is our actual issue. We have a 2-inch drop shank here, and it turns out a 2.5-inch receiver. Ram has actually swapped this out a few times, different sizes and such. So in order to adapt, we got a 2 to a 2.5-inch receiver. It's a little tiny sleeve. Well, that sleeve also isn't perfect. Now, we have tried like the little aluminum can trick where you trim up some aluminum can and stick it in there, and that might work other than the fact that it doesn't stay. So we actually got these little plastic shims. There's a little 3M adhesive on the bottom side. And we go ahead, we stuck it here, and that reduced almost all of the wobble from between here and the adapter. But of course we need to remove all the extra wobble there. Now we do have, of course, the sleeve is a 2.5-inch, which is not a full 2.5-inch. I think the receiver is just slightly wider. They give you that for a little tiny bit of play, but you don't want all this play. Because what it actually ends up being is a lot of like, you know, you pick up, pick, drop, pick up, pick, drop. And it's one of these things that it puts a lot of force on the truck. You get, you know, when we have these coil springs in the back on a 2500 instead of leaf springs, it's not as nice of a ride as it should be. So it's pretty impactful. But this being a 2.5-inch and this setup here, and they include quite a few of these little components, right? And some of them we've actually trimmed down to put on either side. We're hoping that they worked as well as they did on the 2-inch shank, even though it's a 2.5-inch, but we'll give it a shot and see if this reduces or if we need to add more. But we do know that this works. So I tried quite a few things. We also tried those hitch stabilizers, or
the anti-rattle hitch stabilizer thing.
Basically, it's a U-bolt and a plate on the bottom, and what it does is you tighten it down. That didn't do anything for us because this is too heavy for that, so it just picks it right up. We also are kind of limited on some of our clearances here. I don't want it, you know, rubbing under here. So, and I'll show you one other concern that I have, which is I don't want to elongate these pinholes right there. So it's putting a lot of stress. I mean, there's a lot of stress on this little pin, and I don't see any real wear on that. You know, nothing that seems too abnormal, but we don't want to do too much, stretch this out, and all of a sudden, you know, we need to go get another one welded, right? So here's that sleeve, and all this is we're going to set it on top and on the bottom, and then we're going to try it, make sure it works, and then we'll try these guys. You can either add them on top or on the sides. We're probably going to go on the sides here. Let me get that done, and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. We've only stuck one of them on. This is kind of what it looks like. They're not very complicated. And we did trim it a little tiny bit. But interestingly, just one on the bottom here has taken out the majority. All right, got that lined up. Majority of our rattle. I'm not entirely satisfied with that. I think we want to add, even if it's only a sliver on the backside, but yeah, we'll go ahead and, you know, if you put too much in here, it's going to be pretty hard to get out, but I'll see, we might add one more on top and see if that even works. And then, yeah, that'll take care of most of our issues here. That's awesome. If you jam it in there, you will have a very, very, very hard time getting it out. What we found was one on the side, you know, cut the strip. One on the top will work. It does still, so it goes in there, it's decently tight, and we might be able to use a different shim. You know, maybe an aluminum shim in there, you know, something like that, we'll see. But that took care of a lot of that rattle. So we still have the up and down, you know, but, and there's a kind of combined factor with all of these, but let's see. This, what am I doing wrong? There we go. This guy, pretty good improvement. It's a lot less noisy because there's more plastic and less metal on metal. So after playing around with this a little bit, we were able to do the sides and one, you know, the bottom. So we have a lot less play in here now. While it would have been best just to have a properly sized shank, what we found was that we actually did get a 2.5-inch shank, and there was even more play than this. And in that instance, it actually wouldn't have worked at all because the insides of the correct shank actually cut in. So that didn't quite work. So yeah, we still have some play here, but a market improvement. Hopefully this all means a lot less wear and tear on the truck and the trailer because it's not doing so much porpoising. So in the future, we'll also work on our suspension because you guys may or may not know, these are not leaf spring trucks on the 2500. The 35s are. The 25s are coil springs. So there's 5 coil springs right in the back. And honestly, we should have learned from the first 2500s, which we actually added airbags on that. Should have learned and upgraded right away. We didn't. So we do have an idea for a few upgrades, so stay tuned for that. That'll be at some point in the future, and hopefully this helps you. We're just gonna see what we can finagle in there, something thin, maybe a little, maybe now we can use the aluminum, I should say, and slip that in there. We should be all right. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye.